All right, welcome to episode 3 of the Red Eye Podcast. We have a special
Episode
guest.
3 already?
Episode 3, yep. The first
What?
episode, we didn't even have a name, and all of a sudden now we have a name, the Red Eye Podcast. So,
Hey, Red Eye Podcast, what's up?
what's up? We got my boy Kwesi in the building.
How you guys doing? What's going on?
Go ahead,
Kwesi.
shout out everything you got.
All right, so real quick, my name is Kwesi Fields. I'm also a fellow podcaster, and I also do a lot of these similar type of videos and / talks. If you guys want to follow me on what is it? It's Spotify. If you just look on K Let's Talk Podcast, KAYY Let's Talk Podcast, you'll find me. So if you guys are interested in listening to that type of thing as well, we have similar type of content. So, just make sure.
Yes, definitely tune in. So, about 2 months ago, I was on Kwesi's podcast, K Let's Talk, and it really kind of even inspired me to start this one. So if y'all could definitely go over there, check him out. We've known each other for years and years. I think we've known each other since freshman year of high school?
Freshman year. It's funny that you mentioned that because I thought about this, I think like a week after the last podcast we had, but I was like, when was the first time that I met you? Like when we actually knew each other. You probably didn't know this, but we had a test. I think it was like a tax. You remember tax?
Taxes.
Yeah, bro. I think we had, because your last name is F. My last name starts with F as well. So you know how back then they had the chronological.
Yeah.
So I think we had not a class, but we had a test center together. So that I think but this is before you worked out, and this is before I started doing like track and taking stuff like that seriously.
Right, because Kwesi, you were actually athletic. I don't think a lot of people knew that, and also, I don't think a lot of people knew that you were a creative person either. Like at least I didn't know until probably around like senior year. Probably that's when I found out.
I think it was junior year in high school. I had taken, there was this typing class that we had to take on the computers, and I think assignments were simple enough to just make sure you had to see your word typing speed in a minute and once you do that, we had a side assignment. Bro, I was multitasking. I was editing YouTube videos on those desktops. Nobody knew. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. My teacher, she was really sweet though. Like she knew what I was doing, but she was also really like, as long as you get your work done, I don't mind.
Right. Yeah. You were a good guy. Like I don't think, like, looking back at it now that we're adults, like I feel like I would have been that same way as a teacher, especially.
I'm still a kid, dude. What you talking about?
Yeah, we're old now. We got beards and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the beard.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we get into the podcast, thank you all so much for checking us out. We have a video version on YouTube, so go ahead and check us out there. It's on my YouTube channel, Xavier Floyd. Also, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever kind of platform you choose to listen on. We're probably there. So
there's like Podchaser, Deezer. There's some other ones out there.
I didn't even know about those.
I didn't even know.
But I was just like, list.
I'm like, y'all have that? Y'all know about that? All right, cool. If y'all want to use that, y'all can. It's just more options for them.
Right. So we definitely appreciate everyone, coming through, checking us out. We've had some pretty good episodes, some great conversations in the past. I was on this podcast on 2 occasions a couple months ago. If y'all haven't checked those out, definitely check those out. We'll definitely do another podcast for his channel as well. So y'all need to be subscribed to his podcast on every platform. Make sure you give that 5-star rating for him. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube, all that stuff. Show some love because we really out here. We trying to get it. It's tough times right now, but we really trying to, influence the world in a positive way.
We do this for free. I mean, like, what else you guys have to do? You just listen. You guys can just, shoot a like and share our stuff. It's not that hard,
Exactly.
It's not that hard. Little muscle strength on the finger, but that's about it. It don't take much.
The crazy.
Come on, man.
Exactly. The crazy thing is, I know some people that watch content creators on YouTube will never press that subscribe button, but every time that video show up and recommended, they hopping on it. They won't click like either, but they watch every single video.
And then don't be mad when the YouTuber goes on like a 6-month year break, and then you're gonna be missing them. Hey, you didn't hit that like button. You should be hitting that like button.
Exactly. I think support is so key. Sharing videos, all that kind of stuff, because that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us wanting to push out content. Like for the longest, I'll record videos and I wouldn't even post it on YouTube because really I could care less about, it being out there, but I was doing it for me. And then I remember when 2020 started, I'm like, I'm making some real good stuff. Like, it's really selfish of me not to post it, to give possibly someone else some inspiration on how they should be doing something. So that was my really purpose for starting this, not because, I care about YouTube money. Really, I don't really care about YouTube.
It don't hurt though. But
yeah, I mean, YouTube,
you know what I'm saying? We got to eat,
Yeah, but, my dad always taught me you never turn down a check,
Yeah.
But at the same time, we got real jobs. We got stuff like that. We got priorities. Just show some love. We out here, grinding.
Yeah,
grinding.
Man. We grinding, bro. So make sure that, another thing is, because you said earlier that it's something that you also didn't consider, it's obviously you can get paid for it, but you started it primarily because you wanted to get your ideas out to people. It's kind of like you said, selfish to keep it to yourself.
Right.
I think that was also very similar for me. Like, I think it started for me because when I was at I was always talking to my friends about really, because I'm a very, when I'm thinking, I usually keep it to myself unless someone, asks me about it. So whenever someone is like, hey, what do you think about this? Or, hey, I need your opinion on this. And I'll get into this whole nother thing. And they're like, whoa, bro. I just asked you what you wanted to eat for lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, when afterwards, people come up to me and be like, that was actually a really good point that you had mentioned. And I think that's when it started, like, it kind of started, like, it was a catalyst for me to make my own podcast. So it was kind of pretty cool that way too.
What's so great is being on a podcast with a podcaster, because the conversations just go. And, I've been on other shows, not us, of course. And it's hard to keep it going if you don't have the right people with ideas that, and they can express themselves in ways that other people can understand and relate to. Luckily, I feel like most of my friends, we can definitely have conversations like this. But you being a podcaster, it's so obvious that, like, it's so refreshing. But like I said, I really appreciate you coming through. He drove 120 hours. He drove
120 hours. Yeah, bro, we flying on the ocean, dude.
Man, he drove an hour and 30 minutes about when it really should have only taken him 45 minutes. He got lost, but it's all good.
I mean, it's Houston. I mean, I really don't know at this point what to expect. It's like there's traffic one day, there's construction another day, whole freeway gone.
Right.
So I don't know.
So,
GPS is a must. So
GPS definitely a must. I don't know, it steered you the wrong direction this time, but at least he got here.
Yeah, so, whatever. I don't mind. It's always awesome to do these.
So wanted to get into some interesting topics. One of them being, we have this whole movement going on. Of course, we have the COVID situation. Everybody's talking about it. I've seen some things online where people are getting upset at celebrities for not doing enough, or maybe doing the wrong.
We're talking about J. Cole right now, or
I mean, it could be whoever. I'm not dropping names, but what do you feel about the majority, or people in general getting upset at celebrities for either not doing too much or not doing enough?
Okay,
I guess those are the same things, but
right. I mean, at the end of the day, people don't realize that celebrities are everyday people. Like, whether they make music, whether they're actress, actor, director, whatever they're doing, these are regular people that are just seen more as like a role model. So when you look up to these people, it's like you and I, everyday people, we always make mistakes. There's things that we do where we could learn and do things better, and it just takes a little bit of experience and time to learn.
Right.
But it's like when you are looking at these celebrities as everything they do must be perfect,
right,
then it gives you expectations. Like, whenever something small is like out of the norm, they kind of judge it, and then that's when Twitter blows up. That's when Instagram blows up. And in my opinion, like, when some of these celebrities, it's not even that crazy. It's like they might tweet, so and so just caught COVID. I'm like, you know how many people caught COVID in Houston?
Right.
It's like, I mean, It's only a matter of time for a lot of these things to happen. But it's like, I just wish people were a little bit more sensitive to these type of things, because they're regular people.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that people tend to think that once you gain a certain social status, that you're immune to a lot of human kind of emotions and behaviors. being with somebody who has somewhat of a, smaller, biggish platform. I have to say smaller, biggish because there are some people with, millions and millions of followers, subscribers, fans, all that stuff. My girlfriend, she has YouTube channel with 41,000. She has a Twitter with about 40,000, Instagram with 20, and she's built up a small fan base. But my whole point is this, some stuff really does affect you regardless of what people say and how they, pretend that, hate comments don't hurt and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It can really affect not just your day, but your month, your year. And we've seen it with different content creators, taking their own lives and stuff like that. So I just think that we have to be very careful with how we kind of conduct ourselves, even when it is a celebrity, because we all feel like we built up these people, mm-hmm. like we've given them a platform. But the fact of the matter is, these celebrities worked for everything that they have, regardless of what you may think, whether it's a Kardashian or whether it's, a NBA player, LeBron James, whatever the case may be, they've built their platform some way.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of funny.
Some way.
Yeah. I know it's kind of funny because some people, you don't really respect the way they've built it up, but at the same time, they built it. So, but
yeah,
I don't know, but
it's, I mean, like you said, it's when you think at the end of the day, these are the people, they didn't start. So, well, some of them might have came from like a well-known family and they got fame that way. But certain people, it took a lot of effort and a lot more time for some people to get the platform, the audience and the fan base that they have at the moment. But it's, if you really support an actor or artist or any type of, celebrity of that magnitude, you have to be sensitive to, obviously this is what they do for a living, but how would you feel? Okay, let's say you're a doctor or let's say you're an engineer. How would you feel that someone was always hammering you to do this, do, but then whenever it's time for him to reap his rewards, it's never coming back. That's why it's so important for you to, make sure you try your best, like, sharing, doing anything that you can, especially if you're a content creator. It's important for your fans to share your content because that's how a lot of that revenue comes in. If you have, it's like if you have 100 people watching you, when you first start out, obviously you have to put in a lot of work to get that moving. Whereas if you have a larger fan base, it's a lot easier for you to do a few projects and it gets shared so much quicker. So, I mean, you just have to be sensitive to the idea that these are regular people doing doing regular jobs, and they do burn out. They do have feelings. They do have families, other obligations besides their jobs, So that's how I see it.
It's a double-edged sword for people like us because, at least for me, I know I could care less about the fame. I'd rather have, the successes, achieve my goals, and have really no one really know who I am, just because I want to live my normal life without having to worry about the safety of, the people I love because of my status.
Yeah.
A lot of these celebrities, they have to worry about the safety of their family. They have to worry about the safety of their friends, all because they have built up such a social presence, and people either want to gain clout off them or they just don't like them because whatever reason, either jealousy or whatever the case is. It also brings us into the conversation of money. Some people really hate people with money because they feel that, you shouldn't have a certain amount of money. Like,
you should not?
You should not. Like,
okay.
There should be a limit to how much money you have. And if you have
like a cap,
there should be a cap. Like, some people have that. Like, they're looking at people like, Steve Jobs, RP, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, the big dogs, right? They're looking at all these folks and they're like, it's unfair that they've, achieved all this wealth. How come they don't take from these folks and give it to people who don't have, much of anything at all? What is your opinion on people kind of having that opinion about others with wealth?
I guess I kind of have mixed feelings about it because I'm the type of person, I'm not a very materialistic person. I'm actually, like, I prefer to have less. Like, when I travel, you can even ask anybody. Like, when I travel, I have one bag and that's it. And I'm more so, I like to be lighter. I like to travel light, having things that are only necessary. I don't want to have things that, like, let's say, for example, my house were to catch on fire. You know, the smallest, I might lose my guitar, or I might lose a couple equipment, but it's always replaceable. I don't want to get to the point where a lot of these things like money, a lot of these things like that aren't necessarily, you know, it's not my whole life. I have a lot of things that I want to, it's hard to explain. I want a lot of things that I can give to people, or I can, you know, lessons, things that I can do for myself that even if my material things are destroyed, I still have a lot to give.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I see.
And when it comes to people with a lot of money, I mean, if it's always good to give back. I think at the end of the day, it is important to give back because you didn't get here on your own. No matter what people say, I'm a self-made millionaire. No, you had to sleep on somebody's couch. You had to eat somebody's food. Somebody had to talk to you and instill in you certain lessons that make you, the person that you are today. So, you know, I always feel like it's important to give back because if you are where you are today and you believe in your own product and what you're trying to sell to people, then it's always important to try to spread that to the people that are going to succeed you.
Right.
So, I mean, if you die with all this money and you're not trying to help anyone else, then, you know, you're basically being buried with all your gold and riches.
I see.
What do you think about it?
I think it's interesting because I'm the type of person where I think that everything that you work for, you deserve, you know, to be rewarded for that work. And at the same time, I think that giving back is the whole purpose of working so hard so that you can open up the door for somebody else. And a lot of people have the idea that if I work this hard to gain all this, then you should have to work just as hard and I shouldn't have to help you along the way, which is to me the wrong way to think about it because, you know, if you're experiencing all these, you know, good things in life, wealth, money, cars, whatever the case may be, it's all for nothing if you can't share it with people that you love and that, you know, you may not even love the people, but at the same time, it should be a human thing to want to see someone else smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at least that's how I am. I think that I'd rather see, you know, 100 people smile than, you know, for me to be smiling in the mirror every day, you know? So
that is very, you know, that is interesting that you say that. I like that. Yeah.
You spitting gems. Make sure you 5 stars, baby.
Yeah, copyright. Don't. What day is it? What is it? The 4th of July. Make sure that we said that first. So, I mean,
the 4th of July. Yeah,
it is the 4th of July. I'm one of those. I think that like you made a really good point about the, you know, you rather look at other people smiling than looking yourself in the mirror. I think a lot of people don't let that really sit in until it's too late. You know, some people are rich, but then they don't really have good, you know, foundation relationships.
Right.
You know, people that, you know, if they were to pass away one day, who would be there to remember what they gave back? Because if you didn't give anything back, then what do people remember about you?
Exactly.
And yeah, it is, like I said, it is very important that, you know, because you're not going to be here forever. Everything that you learned, everything that you've brought from working so hard needs to be able to be given to the future generation. And there was another point that I was trying to make, and you were talking about it a little bit. It had to do with, what was it?
There was a point that I was going to make, and that was, you know, with money being, you know, some people looking at money as evil, you know, and you take someone like Jeff Bezos, right? You know, Amazon guy. And those people, generally speaking, those people who are complaining about Jeff Bezos having all this money are the same people with Amazon Prime. And like, it just doesn't make sense.
Bro, I hate your food, but give me some more of that. Give me the double Whopper. Give me all of that. I want all of that. But I don't like your food though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and you shouldn't make money off of me, even though I love your product.
Yeah.
Like, same thing with Apple. It's like people get upset, you know, that they're making all this money and, you know, they have, you know, owners and all this stuff making millions and millions of dollars. You know, even it's just one of those things where most people have an iPhone and they're complaining.
Yeah.
You know,
we take it for granted too. I think a lot of time, like a lot of things we have, we see it as everybody has it, and therefore I should have it too. But then when it has problems, I want to complain. Exactly. It's like you don't have to have it. You could have gone with some other type of phone. You could have gone with some other type of you know, shoe or clothing line, but you chose this one. So if you have problems with it, instead of trying to complain about it, I mean, the first thing is if you can do something about it, you should. But if it's out of your hands, then you shouldn't complain about it. Just move to another, option.
And that's a good point. And the reason why I say owners, because people look at certain companies and think that one person owns that company. Whenever you have a publicly traded company, there are multiple owners. If you own a share of stock in whatever company, then essentially you are a shareholder, you are an owner. Like if you look at, and I keep using this reference because it's the easiest to kind of get people to understand. You look at Amazon, Jeff Bezos, although he is the majority owner, he still only owns like 16% of the company.
Right.
So there is another 84% of the, the share of Amazon that's out there,
Right.
and nobody's complaining about that.
Right.
So my whole point is this.
It's not being publicized.
It's not. And he has a lot of money and all that stuff. And these people, they do donate and they do things like that. But, people are very hypocritical, in my opinion, on that level where they feel that Jeff Bezos, he built Amazon. And think about this. Let's say you built your podcast up and you start getting 30 million listeners every week. Okay. And people got so upset that you're making all this money from sponsors and this and that and all this ad revenue that they don't want to support you no more just because now you're making all this money. But to you, is it fair that something that you've started from the ground up, like you shouldn't be rewarded for what you've built? Like your influence at that point is so great that you touch so many people. Like it's almost like saying, Jeff Bezos, you should not own Amazon, even though you started it way back then. Like even though that was your baby, you had an idea that you wanted to have a website for selling books. I believe that's how it started.
Right.
He wanted to build a website where you can purchase books because he knew that there were so many books in the world that there's not one single store in the world that could sell all those books.
All right.
But you can sell all those books in an online platform because it's through the internet. So you got 4 million books on the internet that you could easily sell. Let me not say easily because, obviously I'm not no billionaire or anything, but theoretically you can more so easily sell those books online because you don't have to have a physical store to hold all those books.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that people just need to look at things from different perspectives before they form their opinion because, put yourself in that situation. You built up a company. You had a truly unique idea. If somebody told you that you shouldn't be able to own your own company because you're seeing too much success, like that's completely, in my opinion, wrong.
Just see it this way, I guess. Like it's like the same people that are saying you shouldn't get all of this reward, you shouldn't reap so much of the benefits from you building your platform from the ground up. Now, let's say, for example, I decided the same person that's saying that to me, I'm saying, hey, you know what? Come work for me. All of a sudden, they're like, you know what? You deserve everything, bro. Like, this is so awesome. And, I'm just like literally when I was on my own doing it, you hated me for it. But now that I put you on, some people are just, some people I think deep down are just angry at the thought of someone else, excelling, doing something that they're not doing. So I think that comes in part due to like insecurities. Some people are insecure that it's not even the fact that they can't. It's just some people are just very, I don't want to say they're paralyzed because everyone has their own situation and everyone has something that they're, some other obligation. But certain people are doing something that they don't want to be doing. And instead of saying, maybe I can try this and see that it works for me, they're going to say, this is why it can't work for me because of A and B, and I don't want it to work for you.
All right.
So they're kind of, expressing they're venting their own feelings out towards people that are doing what they wish they were doing, if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you're talking about because people, and Joe Rogan, he said this a long time ago, like a really, really long time ago. He said that, hate and jealousy comes from people not really realizing their own potential. And like they take it out on the people who are taking advantage of their opportunity and really going for it. And, Joe Rogan, he's one of those guys where he's genuinely a grinder. Like I look back when people didn't even listen to podcasts, like way back when, like literally I was in middle school and we were in middle school. And nobody wanted to listen to no 4-hour conversation. Like it wasn't what was going on. Like, of course he had viewers back then, but it was mostly older people. Okay. Nowadays, I feel like there are, younger people who are really, excited to do podcasts, and it's a good way to pass time. It's a good way to educate yourself. It's a good way to, expand your capacity, because you're getting in different perspectives all the time. So, when I'm working out or when I'm about to go to bed, typically I'm listening to a podcast, and, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but long story short, educate yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, like you said, at the end of the day, it does come down to we're just two friends that were having a conversation about things that we are passionate about. And instead of just keeping it to ourselves and just, we might talk about it again some other time. We are showing it to other people that might have a similar, idea or want to know more about a specific subject.
Right.
So that's how I see it. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and it works.
I definitely think it's a positive thing, because as humans, I feel like we've grown away from just having conversations with one another.
Yeah.
And
my friends are these four walls. Everything else outside, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And
exactly,
it's unfortunate, but
and it's almost like this whole Black Lives Matters thing is, it's one of those things where I feel that people genuinely hardly ever interact with Black folks. Like, and a lot of people kind of have an opinion from a distance about how things are in today's society, but they never really put themselves in a situation where they can get an actual perspective via having a conversation with a Black person. So, that's a whole nother conversation. But before we get into anything like that, because I know that can take us into a whole spiral on
episode 4, 5,
yeah, it can take us. But back to the celebrity topic.
I just remembered what I was going to say because you brought that up.
Oh, go ahead.
So, okay, you said a little while back, because certain people have this mindset where it's like, if I was able to do this and I got to where I am now, you should be able to do it too. And theoretically, that makes sense, but we also don't start from the same foundation. So certain people are, I think the term is generational wealth, where let's say, for example, your ancestor, your grandparents had a certain amount of land. Right. And if they sold that land to your parents, and then your parents pass this land over to you, obviously you are off to a good start, and you're able to do something with that. It might be, it might be some other project that you're working on, but if you start off from a different foundation, you can't expect somebody to, doing the same thing that you do. I mean, they can theoretically, but it's not going to be the same method. It's not going to be the same path. And I think that once we understand that not everybody comes off, because a lot of people don't even realize what certain people go through. That's actually one of the sad things about it. Certain people might think I want to get milk one day, right? Certain people, okay, I'm just going to go to Walmart. Some people don't know where rice is from. They say, where's rice from Walmart? Right. Certain people don't understand, I guess they take it for granted, the things that we have, because it's so accessible to us. But to some people, it could actually be a deal breaker. Like, I might not be able to go to school because I have to do this.
I see what you're saying.
So it's like, you have to be, it always goes back to, you have to be sensitive, because you have something. It might not necessarily be the reason why you are the way you are. It could have been because of some type of foundation, something, we're just not all on the same platform sometimes. I went on a tangent a little bit.
No, that was good. That was good, because what I was going to comment on that was, people can either use that energy as a positive or a negative, because I've seen it in multiple occasions where certain people take their current situation, maybe their parents didn't have money at all, grew up poor, and they use that energy in a negative way where they never really understand, how to get out of it. And they look at other folks who maybe had a easier path, or let me put it like this. Certain people, let's be real, have an easier path to success because of the generation before them, like you said. But it's just as easy to screw it up as it is to, gain upon that. Right. So my whole thing is this: if you can channel whatever energy that you have into a positive way of you reaching or trying to reach your goals, then that's the ultimate idea. Like that's what you want to do.
Right.
For those who constantly look at others, and I'm gonna bring up the Kardashians because a lot of people seem to, look at them as everything was handed to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're constantly looking at people like that and saying, "Oh, everything was handed to them. They never had to work for anything," blah blah blah, you're only hindering yourself because you're not giving yourself the credit. Like, you can do it, and don't blame them for how they got to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not giving yourself enough. What's the word I'm looking for?
You're kind of,
You're holding yourself back.
yeah. It's like, okay, here's a free $100 bill. Do you want it? I mean, you can use it to pay for something that you really need today. But like, nah, I want to grind. All right, suit yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look at it this way: if you're somebody who,
I'm not saying steal. That's not all what I'm saying. Let's get that.
yeah, he's a good guy.
I just thought about that.
But take it like this: if you were born into wealth, then great. Don't mess it up. Keep it going. Keep the train going.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't born into wealth, your whole goal is or should be to change your family tree so that your kids are born into wealth and they need to keep the train going. So don't look at it as, I got the bad end of the stick. I'm never going to be able to recover. Mm-hmm. Look at it as, hey, I'm planting the first seed of generational wealth. And I just hope that in the future, my kids, my grandkids' kids, they don't screw it up. Mm-hmm. Because it has to start somewhere. And if it starts with you, then great. That means that you did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you can't blame other people for being born into wealth when down the line somebody had to make a sacrifice for
exactly.
it. So that's my whole, spill on that. I feel like just don't take things as always a negative. Like, channel it for positive so that you can use it and progress.
Yeah, and I like to think about it. I mean, it's a lot of people see it as like a competition, like a war. Like, whenever somebody's doing something, I have to outdo the other person. And I think if you think about life like that all the time, you're going to be always chasing after your tail, if that makes sense. Because, you have to be happy with what you're doing. Obviously, you want to see growth, but it's not worth it if you're trying to bring the people around you down. You need people to help, support you. You need people that are you need to have similar minds to help you grow. If you're the only person doing it and you're crushing everybody around you, like competition, at the end of the day, you are going to be the type of person where you're not going to be seeing 100 smiles around you. Everyone's going to be doing their own thing, and you're just going to be smiling at yourself in the mirror and just being like, I did it.
Yeah.
But what did you?
Cares?
Yeah. Who cares? Like, nobody, you're basically one person speaking your own language, and no one else can follow or relate to you because everyone's beneath you.
Exactly.
Oh.
And, I wanted to get into another topic very similar to the one we're talking on right now. Cancel culture. Are you familiar with the term?
Okay, so from what I get about it, it's like when you do something that the fans don't approve of, they can just cancel you.
Right.
That's it, or
that's generally speaking, that's it. So,
okay. But how do they do that though? How do they just be like, you've been canceled?
Basically, it's a mob mentality type thing. So, like, think of it this way. Let's say I said something that was inappropriate, back in middle school, and I posted it on Twitter back then. And then fast forward to today, I'm this famous internet celebrity with millions of subscribers on YouTube and blah, blah, blah.
From what you said in middle school? Or
and
just
somebody dug up what I said from in middle school and said, this is the real Xavier Floyd, everyone. Just know that you're supporting this person. So that's one scenario.
Yeah.
There's another scenario when you think about R. Kelly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So R. Kelly, obviously, he had this whole situation, where apparently he was holding, young teenagers against their will, and the whole P thing, all that stuff. So he was doing a lot of stuff. And obviously, people, they went ahead and they canceled him.
Right.
I think that was okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I think everybody agrees that canceling R. Kelly was
Yeah. But that's an example though. The R. Kelly thing is okay.
Is an example.
I got you.
So, generally speaking, cancel culture happens when people don't want to wait for justice to be served in a legal way.
Okay.
Generally speaking, we don't have all the facts. We just have bits and pieces.
Right.
And the mob mentality comes out and says, this person is a terrible person. Everybody needs to take their platform away from them. So what do you think about that kind of idea of the people determining whether someone needs to be canceled?
I've always, because, okay, like you said, it's a double-edged sword for me because I think it is important. I like the idea of the community being the ultimate dictator for how people should, if there's somebody doing something wrong, I don't like the idea that one person can decide someone's fate. It needs to be like a group, if you live in a certain country and you do something wrong, it's not one person that says he should die.
Right.
He should go to jail. It should be a community that agrees that, okay, this person is really screwed up and this is what they should get. You know what I mean? No, I'm real.
Like, this person really screwed up. No, let's all agree he should die.
That's how it's always been. I mean, I'll give this example. My parents are from the Caribbean. Yeah. In the Caribbean, okay, let's say I'm going to compare it to America. In America, when you do something wrong, you call the police, and the police are the ones that escort you to jail or do whatever they want to you. Right. In Jamaica, if you call the police, you better hope that they don't get to you first, because if the people or the community find out what you did, let's say they find out you had raped somebody. Mm-hmm. If the community finds out, they're gonna get to you first before the police get there. All the police can do is get the people off of you. Oh man! So it's like, I like the idea that you have to, basically your community raises you. Right. The people around you raise you, so it makes people a little bit better and more comfortable with each other, as opposed to, trying to do everything on your own. I see. So you have a lot of influence. It's not just your mom that raised you. Your neighbor raised you, your aunt, your uncles, your cousins, everyone raised you. Now, here's my other thing to it. So that's that point, but there's another side to it. I don't like the idea that if people don't know the whole story, they can just put their 2 cents in and they could ultimately dictate this person's future. Yep. They don't know what this person did. They don't know they don't know why this person was in this specific situation in this point in time. Mm-hmm. All they know is that this person did this certain thing and it was bad. Yep. Therefore, I should put them in prison. Yep. I don't like, so it's I like, there's this point and then there's this point, but I'm 50-50 on it.
I feel that you need to have the facts before you start canceling people. Definitely. I feel like with R. Kelly, the facts came out, then people canceled. Mm-hmm. Because for the longest, it was all everyone kind of knew, but we were still, bumping R. Kelly. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't, he wasn't convicted or anything like that. Yeah. Exactly. But now, the facts have come out, and it's like, okay, this guy is, he needs to be canceled. Mm-hmm. So, and mind you guys, I'm not a cancel culture type person, but when the facts are there and they're in your face, it's like, okay, do you really want to support this? Because what if it was your sister or your daughter that, was in that same situation? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be happy. You wouldn't be, supporting somebody that, that did that to your sister or your daughter or your mother, whoever the case may be. So, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. I just think it's funny. Like you said, in Jamaica, they'll come get you.
This, okay, let me there's an example, and I think this example. There was an African American guy. He was arrested and he was put in prison because he apparently was making out with an underage girl. That's all the public knows, right? At the time, this is all they know. So obviously people are going to be like, yeah, that's wrong. So-and-so, that was wrong. This person should definitely be locked up. But then they found out that it was a bar in which you have to be 21 or older to get in the first place. Yeah. So now they're okay. They've already had it in their head that this person is wrong for what they did. But what they didn't know was that, first of all, you have to be 21 or older to get into the bar. Right. Second, what was the other stuff? Like I think they gave him such a irrational sentence time where people that did way worse things got a month or 2 months in prison. Mm-hmm. I think he got 21 years or something like that. Oh, wow. And it's like, it makes you like, if you don't have all the facts, it makes you really question, are we really doing the right thing for, do we really have all the facts?
Right.
Was this person really in the wrong? Stuff like that. That's why I'm really 50-50 with it. I do like the idea that the community has a big part in what goes on in the community.
Right.
It's not just one person making the rules, but I also think it's important for people to understand and know the facts before they start jumping to conclusions.
Right. Are you familiar with the YouTuber James Charles?
You have to remind me.
He's a openly gay YouTuber. He does makeup. He does other stuff, but primarily,
I might.
I think if you see him, you'll know who he is.
Okay.
But he's a white guy. He's openly gay. He does makeup, stuff like that. And there was a scandal a few months ago where this other YouTuber named Tati had basically came out and exposed him. And for everyone who's listening to the podcast, not watching the video version, I'm doing the quotation fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Basically exposed him for doing some inappropriate things with, it's a long story, but basically she exposed him on doing some inappropriate things with like some straight dudes and like trying to do some things that,
Tati? Wait, so James, which one was the one that was being put in the wrong?
James Charles.
Okay.
And James Charles at the time had like 16 million subscribers, something like that. He had a huge platform. And Tati, she made this video, and James Charles ended up losing like 3 million subscribers from it.
Wow.
It was really, really big. It was cancel culture at its pinnacle. And, the reason why I bring this up is because nobody really had the facts at all at the time. But it was like, okay, this person is saying this about James Charles, and she seems credible. Let's all mob together. Let's cancel James Charles. Fast forward to today, a lot of her allegations probably couldn't be further from the truth. And James Charles was on a downward spiral where he probably considered suicide. I think somebody, said that he was, that down and out, that he was contemplating, hurting himself. All for a situation that wasn't even real, a situation that was fabricated just so that this Tati person and whoever was behind the scenes could push whatever agenda they wanted to push and harm this guy. So I mentioned that to say this. I feel like we haven't learned anything, and I think PewDiePie said it best. And I had the same opinion, going through this whole kind of coronavirus, cancel culture thing. I'm like, James Charles went through this like situation worse than anybody that I've seen. He got canceled, like literally off the earth.
Right.
And it affected his sponsors, it affected his money, it affected his reputation, all these things. And fast forward to today, people are still canceling people without knowing the facts. And then it's just like, who's going to apologize to James Charles? Like, who's going to who's going to make him the money back that he lost? Who's going to do all these things that, all this should have never happened. Yet it happened, and we're just going to continue life.
All they can do is say, I'm sorry. But you can't get the time and the money back that he lost from, and all the mental breakdown from everything that happened. So it was a complete lie. What happened?
It was basically a complete lie. There were no facts. It was a complete lie. The Tati, she ended up admitting that there was an agenda behind it, and she had like Shane Dawson and some other YouTube guy that does makeup, white guy as well. I forget his name. Jeffree Star.
I know Jeffree Star.
Yeah, it was him. They're all behind the scenes trying to get James Charles.
So they're all like ganging up on him a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So
sucks.
apparently that's the story. But I say all that to say this: we need to be having the facts before we do anything that could cause someone to have their career be in jeopardy, have their health be in jeopardy, have their loved ones be in jeopardy. Because when all these things come out, people, they really come after you. Like, you don't really see it because, you're living in the comfort of your own home. You're not a celebrity, most likely. But people are getting death threats. People are showing up to their houses. People are actually doing things. And put yourself in that situation. Let's say maybe you didn't do anything, and you're being canceled for no reason. People are showing up to your mom's house, throwing rocks at the window, keying your cars, calling you names, getting your sponsors removed from your channel or from whatever you do. that's your entire livelihood. That's your career. That's everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just say all that to say this. If you're watching this, just be very careful in how you conduct yourself, because it could be you. It could be someone that that's going through something like this. And like we talked about earlier, even though you're a celebrity, even though you're a content creator, you're still human. All this stuff affects you.
Yeah, so it's important to be sensitive, like not just to the people that you love, but it's also important to be sensitive to the people that might be a stranger to you. So you never know what people are going through. I think that's actually really crazy that you said that, because even if you're completely innocent and you had no part, like nothing that they said was true, because someone wants to just come out and be after you, it's so easy now, because everyone is just like the click of a button. If you send out a tweet, everyone starts getting on a certain hashtag tweet on trend, and all of a sudden it becomes, it can change someone's life. So that really sucks, but I feel like I say that's unfortunate a lot, so I'm gonna start saying it sucks.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, so we've reached a good point in the podcast. We're gonna go ahead, take a quick water break. Make sure that everything is still going stable with the recording.
Next thing you know, the camera's off.
Next thing you know, the camera's off. But yeah, we're just gonna take a quick break. Really, I just need some water, and we'll be back.
That's good.
See you guys in another second. We're gonna do a jump cut, so we're really not going anywhere. But
there you go.
All right, welcome back. We just went and got some water. I had to check on one of the cameras. Looked like the temperature was a bit hot, so we don't want to have our cameras go down mid podcast. That would not be ideal. So we have some really, really good conversations. I'm already talking about celebrities, talking about money, talking about all sorts of things. Let's talk about Kwesi. Let's talk about Mr. Fields, because
all right.
Obviously you have goals as a creator. You have goals as a person. Where you're sitting today, what is your goal? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with, your music, your YouTube? And for people who don't know what Kwesi, what does as a creative person, as a creative individual, just enlighten them so that they can be enlightened.
All right. So like I said, my name's Kwesi. I think my goals change not too much, but as I get older, certain things that I thought I knew or certain things I wanted to do always change. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think as of now, my goal is to, at the end of the day, I want to be able to live comfortably. I don't want to have to worry about if I have the money to pay for this. I want to be able to, like, if someone's in the hospital that I really care about, I don't want it to be like, how much is it? I want to just be like, do whatever it takes. All the resources I have, all I got to do is just do my part to help people. I want to help people. I want to be able to provide for myself. And I also want to be able to readily express myself in whatever I'm doing, whether it be music, writing, speaking, whatever gifts that I think that I don't even like. I think, God's a big factor in it, because it's, I could be doing something else, but I think what I'm doing right now is what interests me the most, and I'm only going to grow with it. So I'm just trying to take advantage of everything that I have now. So whether it be music, writing, speaking, all the other stuff. Now, I do music. Like I said, I like to sing. I like to write. I play guitar. I do bass, the music stuff, all together. I like to produce, do all the stuff like that. Speaking, I didn't actually start speaking, like I said, until I started doing more podcasts earlier this year, when a few of my friends were telling me that it's a good idea to start a podcast, because the way I speak, they say like I might have like I have a pleasant voice to listen to. That's word for word what they said. They said,
was that a lady?
Yeah, it was one of my lady friends. But yeah, it was like, a couple people told me like I have a pleasant voice to listen to, and some of the ideas that I have could help somebody. I shouldn't just think that I'm the only one that thinks it, because I think I used to be like, wow, why does nobody? I used to think I was crazy. Like I used to be like, am I the only one that thinks these things? And like, no, like, it might be a little bit, word for word, might not be word for word what they think, but at the end of the day, these are things that people always think about. It just, like, some people don't express it, or some people are afraid to express it.
Right.
And I think that as long as I'm able to communicate what I'm trying to say effectively, I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. I don't want anyone to to feel uneasy from the things that I say.
Right.
That's what I try to do when I speak. So I try to think about all the different ways that someone could interpret what I'm saying and try to be gentle,
Right.
and try to be sensitive to everyone's feelings. I'm not saying everyone will be happy with the things that we say, but you can do your best to try to, be sensitive to that, understand where people are coming from so that no one feels that I'm after them. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. I feel like education is so key because communication in its own right is a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a skill that a lot of people take for granted. And before I started this whole podcast, I always thought in my head, okay, I'm not the best speaker. And I will never think I'll be the best speaker just because it's truly a skill that's impossible to master. Like you look at different podcasters, and although they may be really great at speaking and talking on different subjects, bringing up good points and ideas, nobody can be perfect when they're talking. And I think that the fact that we're not perfect is what makes us authentic. So, the fact that I go on and I ramble, and you guys know,
I love it.
You guys know I ramble. It bothers me because after the show, I'm like, dang, man, I shouldn't have, I rambled here, blah, blah, blah.
But it makes you a person, a human.
Yeah. And, I'm like, dang, I wish I could edit that out. But, it got to stay in there. Yeah. But, to your point, though, you've gotten to the point where you know how to articulate yourself in a way that doesn't harm individuals. It's for
I try not to.
Exactly. For the purpose of, moving something in the direction that's the right direction, not the wrong direction.
Right.
Because we both could say the same thing two different ways and have the same idea in our head of what it should mean. But you could say it in a way that promotes a positive outcome, and I could say it in a way that promotes a negative outcome. It's almost just like politics. Like you have one story, and depending on who tells that story, you can get a completely different depiction of what actually happened. So, podcasts are definitely fun in that aspect that, I sit here and I talk, we sit here and we talk. And by the way, like I said, I love having you on the show because,
thanks, man.
I love how you articulate.
You see how I got onto the mic? I have to make sure I say thank you so everybody can hear that. Yeah.
So we definitely got to get you back on for more shows. And maybe do some other things in the future because I feel that, it's like you said, support is everything. And you've been one of those guys where you supported me always, and we were never like the best friends, but we always had a mutual respect for one another because we understood each other, like from a creative aspect and from a personal standpoint that, hey, this guy's a good person, and, we kind of had this conversation on your podcast a couple months ago where I was like, although I was an athlete, I also could relate to, everybody almost at the school because I didn't have an ego. And the people who had egos, they're obvious. Like you still know to this day who had the egos. But, the fact that
high school, we
didn't have egos, and we appreciated individuality, I think is what brought us here today. Like I did a podcast yesterday with Nay and G, and, G is the same kind of person where I feel that he's been an individual ever since I've known him. He's never tried to do anything that wasn't himself. So I really respect that. And, people like yourself who have that quality, I just think that people should really take note of that and understand that the best version of you is what people want to see. We don't want to see someone try to be someone else. And, me being perfect on a podcast, I know it's impossible. And I'm so critical of myself. And when I'm laying in bed, I'm like, oh, man.
I could have said this, but I didn't.
I could have, yep. The next time I do a podcast, I got to bring that subject back up because I want to hit on it.
I think one of my favorite things that I get from speaking with you is that I know that you understand that we're not perfect. A lot of these things that people see when they watch YouTube videos and when they watch a lot of these other platforms, they're one of the two things. They're edited, or there's some kind of script that they have to follow, and they might still edit that, even though, it's. A lot of people are not willing to accept the fact that they have these imperfections. And I think one of the coolest things, me personally, even when I watch YouTube videos, there's a hashtag no edit for some YouTubers, and they do that. And then you start seeing how they have these, they consider it awkward. I don't think it's awkward. I think it's just so cool to see people you know, taking, like, acknowledging their little quirks. I think I call it a quirk, but they call it, I don't know what people call them. But I think it's really cool. Like, if you see me on a regular day basis, I could, I might stutter, I might have moments where I'm like, what was that word I'm thinking of? And I do that sometimes. Like, I'm like, what was that word? And then
I do that as well.
Yeah, I'll be like, and then it's like a week later you come back to it and be like, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But I just think, like, that's one of my favorite things that I love, like, when you speak as well, and like even when we were just getting to know each other since high school, you were always, you were an athlete. I knew you were an athlete because I knew, like, you would play football, you would run track, and I knew you. I think did you play basketball or no?
I played in middle school, but I had to make a decision because the sports overlapped and everything, and I was short, so I'm like, dang, I gotta.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the idea that you don't just put yourself in this bubble. Like, some people might be like, I am the athlete, I am the engineer, I am the doctor. I personally don't like, because I study medicine, I'm trying to be a doctor, but at the end of the day, I don't just put myself in this medicine bubble so where people that aren't following the same path as me can't relate to me. Right. I try to make it so that if you're a musician, if you're a dancer, if you do video editing, if you're involved in any type of extracurricular that that you find that you're passionate about, whatever you might be passionate about, I try to be able to expand on that.
Right.
So I think that's really cool that you don't put yourself in the bubble. You try to do you do audio editing, you do video editing. A lot of people didn't know you have a gaming channel as well, and that was really cool too.
Oh yeah, back in the day, I used to Call of Duty. That was my thing. You know, I want to get into more, gaming, more live streaming. But I want this to kind of kick off a little bit first, just because, now if I do a live stream, nobody's going to be, it's just going to be me, So my thing is, I want to build up this platform a little bit so that we can do more fun things like that. Mm-hmm. But to your point, being an individual is so important to me, not following the in crowd just because it's, relevant at the time. Like, if you look to today, we were in high school, 8 years ago? God. Well, we was in high school.
Some time ago.
Yeah, we was 2013, I believe we graduated. So, it was
7 years ago, yeah.
So if you're in high school now and you're watching this, none of that stuff in high school matters. But what matters is you finding yourself, finding what makes you happy for yourself, not for anyone else. Because when you are able to really figure out what makes you happy, you'll start to surround yourself with people that also have that same quality. Mm-hmm. And that's when you really start to grow as a person, and you grow with other folks that are like-minded. So, look at it this way. Me and Kwesi, we didn't talk too much in high school, but we both were individuals in our own respective kind of lanes. Mm-hmm. We could have conversations just like this back then. Yeah. And the fact that we are in this position right now, having a podcast 7 years down the road, mind you, we didn't go to college together. We didn't do anything, but we still stayed connected because when you find people in life that are truly themselves and are genuine and support you, regardless of how many followers you already have, then don't lose track of that. Because if this podcast blows up, K Let's Talk is blowing up as well, because he already showed me that he's not here for anything other than to support the show and to support me. So you need to surround yourself with people like that, because the crowd mentality that I see out here nowadays is really bad. And some friends don't even support themselves, like, other friends. So I don't know.
It's toxic sometimes too. It's like low key. It's kind of competitive. You don't really see it, but you always know in the back of your head that they can't outdo me. And any opportunity that you have to get past another person, you will take it.
Yep.
It's it's really toxic, because at the end of the day, you do have to have people around you to help you.
Exactly.
So
I tell people that all the time. Like, for where I am in my career, I'm pretty far along considering what most people think. What most people think. And I do the quotation marks again if you're listening to the audio version, because we all set our own goals. There are people in life that are my age and that are farther along as far as, finances, as far as their creative, ventures, all that kind of stuff. But, generally speaking, myself, Kwesi, we're doing more than the average person our age. You know, because generally speaking, most people are quite lazy.
I'm an introvert, so I really don't know what people are doing.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is like introverts having podcasts.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend. At first I thought she was the introverted one. And I thought I was the extroverted one because I'm more than likely going to speak to people that I do not know.
Yep.
So I think now, as of today, I think I would call myself I would be a socially introverted person. That means like I rather be to myself. I don't mind spending a lot of time in my own room doing things to myself, like, you know, work, editing, whatever. But when it comes to talking to people, I don't mind. Like I'm not, like, if you get me talking, I will talk to you.
Yeah.
The opposite is she's a little bit more like she likes to spend time with people, but she also doesn't like having conversation if she doesn't need to.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Right.
I see what you're saying. I think you said something funny there because I had to laugh. You said something.
No,
like,
I know what you're gonna say. I corrected myself. Yeah.
You said something like, "I like to be in my room doing stuff to myself."
So that's what I'm saying. You gotta have. I mean, it's like sometimes you could be awkward. Sometimes you can have quirks, but it's just the fact that you can find humor in a lot of the things that you do.
Yeah.
That just makes you so human. You don't have to be uptight all the time. You just gotta just relax and just have a conversation. You know, that's just that easy. Now, if you're sensitive, then that's, you know, if you think everything I say word for word is what I'm trying to say, then take it however you want.
Yeah, really.
I could be saying all kind of stuff and just talking.
Exactly. At the end of the day, we all just we good people. We trying to help the community. We trying to give back. You know, spit these gems for y'all so y'all can take them and do what you please.
Yeah.
But it looks like we're pretty far along in the podcast. Is there anything that you want to kind of speak on before we close out?
Just going back to the fact that we need to, you know, support the people that you want to see grow. You know, Xavier, he is starting off his podcast as of now. He's still fairly new, but it's important that you guys, if you guys like listening to these type of episodes and topics, that you guys follow his, I don't know, you have a Spotify and everything already.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys follow his podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you prefer to listen to something else, that, you know, I think there's like Podchaser, Deezer. I think there's another new one, but I can't remember what it was. But it's important to show that you believe in the product, which is his podcast talks, so that he can continue making these. And he also does YouTube, which is a lot of podcasters don't do YouTube, the whole YouTube thing. Yeah. So I think it's important that you guys, you know, if you want to see it visually, you can follow him on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, and all that good stuff, so that he continues making more of these. And I believe in it, so, you know.
You know what's interesting is I passed the mic over to you, and I'm like, closing remarks, and then like you praise me.
Were you gonna say that anyway?
No, I mean that just shows the kind of person Kwesi is. So like I'm giving him the last kind of spotlight, and he puts it back on me. So like if your friends aren't doing that for you, then you need some better friends.
Hype you up, man.
Yeah.
Your friends need to hype you up, bro.
Hype this podcast up, baby. We're gonna have the horns going on.
You have to like a little edit in the background where like the people are clapping.
Oh,
or
yeah.
like,
Yeah, but man, I appreciate you coming through, man. This is our third podcast. You know, if you haven't checked out the previous podcast, definitely check out his. You can go to Spotify. We're on every platform, right?
Yeah.
It's K
I
Let's
think
Talk.
SoundCloud. I was on SoundCloud for a little bit, but I'm not on SoundCloud. Everything else: Podchaser, Spotify, Apple Podcast. YouTube. I'm trying to kind of branch over to YouTube as well, because I think YouTube is also something that people appreciate. They like to see people speaking as well. Yeah. I'm trying YouTube as well. So.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one, because we're going to do a podcast for his channel as well, and we'll be in the same setup. So definitely we'll have the link to his in the description. I don't know if this is going to go up before or after his, but regardless, we're going to put it in, you know, whenever it, you know, goes live. So thank you guys so much. Remember, his podcast is K Let's Talk, KAYYLETS
Podcast.
Talk.
Okay, let's talk. See, I was about to skip over the talk part. Yeah, K Let's Talk. KAYYLETSTALK. I did spell it right. Podcast. So yeah.
I had to think for a moment. That's all.
I was like, I know how to spell. Yeah, I can. It's like when you're doing math, you just can't do it sometimes. But that's it.
Yep. So this has been the Red Eye episode 3. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the channel grow. really helps us get new listeners and all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, make sure you drop a comment. What did you like about this show? What do you want us to talk about in future episodes? Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
All right.